The Five Nights at Freddy's movie promises spine-tingling scares and animatronic terror galore. And while the Blumhouse film might be able to stand on its own two legs, there's a load of complex and creepy lore lurking beneath the cult hit game franchise's surface. Five Nights at Freddy's uses an idea so basic that it's a wonder no one ever tried it before. In the game, players assume the role of a security guard at a Chuck E. Cheese-style restaurant. They must monitor security cameras to avoid being devoured by the locale's creepy animatronics. Sounds easy, right?
Welcome to Freddy's. Have you met them yet?
The mechanics have changed in subsequent sequels, but the approach remains unchanged. The same cannot be said for the animatronic monstrosities lurking around the corners of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurant, however. The antagonists featured in Five Nights at Freddy's started as a relatively small group: Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy Fazbear. Freddy, a seemingly cuddly bear, is the pack's leader and the mascot of the Fredbear's Family Diner and Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurants that operated from the early 80s to the early 90s. As the story progresses, players learn that Freddy and his companions were once children tragically killed by a deranged serial killer named William Afton. For reasons unknown, their souls now reside inside the animatronics, seeking vengeance for their untimely deaths. Consequently, they attack any adult who sets foot in the restaurant. William Afton committed a dozen murders in the 1980s. Co-founder of Fredbear's Family Diner and Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, Afton assumed the guise of Spring Bonnie, a rabbit costume to lure unsuspecting children into the restaurant's back room, where he killed them in cold blood. Afton went to great lengths to conceal the bodies from law enforcement, presumably placing them inside the animatronic suits, thereby imprisoning their spirits within Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. Police never apprehended Afton for his crimes. However, after several failed business ventures, including Circus Baby's Pizza World, the souls of his victims watched him die inside of a malfunctioning Spring Bonnie costume, which tore his body into pieces. Although his corpse was left to decompose, his spirit refused to move on. Consequently, when a group of college students stumbled upon the suit years later and transferred it to a new horror attraction named Fazbear's Fright, Afton continued his terrifying reign as Springtrap. Subsequently, he transformed into Scraptrap. Otherwise, William Afton remains a mystery. He only appears as a tall, skinny man with glowing eyes, a wide smile, and a security badge pinned to his chest. FNAF 2 implies that William experimented with a mysterious substance called Remnant, which traps human souls inside an inanimate object, thus explaining the supernatural nature of the animatronics. The original Five Nights at Freddy's follows a security guard named Mike Schmidt and his harrowing experience over 5 nights at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Assisted by a mysterious individual known as Phone Guy, a former night guard who provides valuable information about the location, Mike must endure 6-hour shifts armed with no weapons, a slowly depleting battery, and only a pair of electronic doors to protect himself from the evil animatronics that roam the premises after dark. Players receive only fragments of information regarding the game's story, most of which surrounds Freddy's crew. On the first night, Phone Guy explains that the animatronics, quote, tend to get a bit quirky at night, attributing this behavior to a free-roaming mode to prevent their servos from seizing. He also alludes to the Bite of 87, not to be confused with the Bite of 83, an incident in which an animatronic bit a customer's head, tarnishing the restaurant's name. On night 4, Mike learns that the animatronics may mistake him for a robotic endoskeleton and force him into an empty suit. Thankfully, if players survive the tense 5 nights, they are rewarded with a paycheck of $120 along with a bonus 6th and 7th night.
Hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Following the surprising success of Five Nights at Freddy's, creator Scott Cawthon embarked on a sequel, which stuck closely to the winning formula of the first installment while introducing a few new elements to keep the shenanigans feeling fresh. Once again, players step into the shoes of an unfortunate security guard, this time named Jeremy Fitzgerald, as they endure 5 nights of surveillance at the newly revamped Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Equipped with an array of lights and security cameras, players must defend against assaults from Freddy's crew, who now appear in a more decrepit state, as well as a fresh batch of original characters, including Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, Mangle, Balloon Boy, JJ, and a withered Golden Freddy. Jeremy dons an animatronic mask in this sequel to disguise himself from certain adversaries. Additionally, players can partake in mini-games that delve deeper into the game's narrative, unveiling the enigmatic Purple Man, a mysterious character who roams about committing heinous acts against children. Upon completing the 5th night, Jeremy discovers that the establishment has been shuttered, with its animatronics discarded in favor of the older versions. A paycheck reveals that the sequel takes place in 1987, before the original game's events. The third Five Nights at Freddy's game occurs 30 years after the first game's events. Here, players watch over a horror attraction called Fazbear's Fright, again using an assortment of equipment to stay alive. Except this time, Freddy's crew takes a backseat to a horrifying new monster called Springtrap, Another phone guy guides players through the first several nights, while some pre-recorded audio tapes provide helpful tips. Minigames detail an intriguing backstory, showing a purple animatronic guiding the original Freddy characters into a back room where the Purple Man, aka William Afton, violently disassembles them. FNAF 3 is also the game in which players are shown his grisly death courtesy of his faulty spring-lock designs. As mentioned earlier, William Afton's soul remained inside the rabbit suit. When it was relocated to the new horror attraction in FNAF 3, William re-emerged as Springtrap. Further bonus nights enhanced the narrative, and eventually explained that a fire caused the new location to shut down permanently. However, keen-eyed players will note Springtrap lingering in the darkness, suggesting the villain survived the fire and now roams freely in the world. Technically, the first game chronologically, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 raises the stakes and the macabre by centering on an unarmed protagonist encounters with nightmare versions of Chica, Bonnie, Freddy, and Foxy within his bedroom. While fans can only speculate as to the identity of the young protagonist, many players believe him to be none other than the first game's hero, Michael. Once again, many games offer some insight into the series' animatic lore. Revolving around a tragic event called The Party, the 8-bit animations depict a despondent boy grappling with his abusive brother. Presumably, this boy, the so-called crying child, is the brother of the game's primary protagonist, and he endures a series of harrowing events. The crying child's brother, who may be Michael himself, wears a mask to frighten him, and confines him to a room alongside various animatronics from Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. During the party, Michael encourages his friends to hoist the boy into Fredbear's mouth. Unfortunately, the animatronic malfunctions and jaws snap shut on the boy's head, horrifying his tormentors and taking his life. Players who complete every level, including the bonus nights, receive a locked trunk and the cryptic message, "Perhaps some things are best left forgotten, for now." As mentioned, online theories suggest that Michael Afton is the older brother of the main boy and that the events depicted in the game represent the infamous bite of '83, as that's when the crying child's party occurs. Alternatively, some believe that Michael is, in fact, Mike Schmidt from the original game, though Cawthon has not confirmed this. That's simply the enigmatic nature of FNAF lore for you folks. Sister Location adds further complexity to the already mysterious Freddy narrative. Set after FNAF 4 and before the events of FNAF 2, the fifth installment sees Michael Afton slide into the central role, working at an establishment called Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental. As a technician, Michael's nights involve moving between various rooms conducting maintenance on the stored animatronics, all while eluding Circus Baby, an animatronic housing the spirit of William Afton's daughter and Michael's sister, Elizabeth. The game's title, Sister Location, pertains to Circus Baby's Pizza World, a restaurant devised by William, featuring Circus Baby, Ballora, Funtime Foxy, and Bon Bon as its stars. Regrettably, William's intentions revolve around sinister experiments with Remnant, driving him to commit further atrocities against children. Unfortunately, Baby unintentionally kills Elizabeth, who becomes trapped within the animatronic, transforming into a murderous entity. Under William's orders, Michael embarks on a mission to free his sister. During the game, Baby lures him to the scalable creation of Ulterior Presence, or SCUT machine. Within this device, she removes Michael's internal organs and allows the evil animatronic named Ennard to use his skin and escape from the facility. Ennard, you see, is an animatronic hybrid created out of all the Funtime animatronics, including Baby.
The scooper only hurts for a moment.
In another ending, Michael somehow regurgitates Ennard into a sewer, leaving the boy with purple skin, unable to die but only barely alive. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator might appear to be a random chapter in the Freddy franchise. Players must navigate the business and finance world through retro games centered around the titular establishment. These simulations put gamers in control of the pizzeria and force them to make critical business decisions that impact the establishment and the atypical jump scare portions of the game. However, if a player successfully completes all of their tasks, the game reveals an essential piece of lore. Scrap Baby, constructed from the remnants of Circus Baby after Ennard disgorged her, and still inhabited by Elizabeth's soul, believes she has duped the user into gathering all the animatronics into one location, allowing her to fulfill her grand plan. Instead, Henry Emily, William's former business partner, whose daughter resides inside a character known as the Puppet, intervenes and unveils his scheme to incinerate Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, thus liberating all the souls of the children William killed, including Elizabeth.
I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now.
He also expresses his intentions to perish in the fire alongside Michael, Scrap Baby, Molten Freddy, and William Afton. The plan succeeds, and a final cutscene reveals tombstones with the names of the murdered children carved into them. Congratulations! That's the end of the Freddy franchise. Except, not really. Not even a little bit.
I am having a hard time adjusting. You look different to me.
Not content to let the franchise rest, Cawthon eventually released the spin-offs Help Wanted and Security Breach. Set after the events of Pizza Simulator, Help Wanted begins with Vanessa, a Fazbear Entertainment beta tester assigned to a virtual reality simulator based on events from previous games. In the game within a game, a previous tester hit a glitch inside the logs. Vanessa compiles these logs, inadvertently releasing Glitch Trap, containing the soul of William Afton. Glitch Trap corrupts Vanessa, who becomes Vanny, and forces her to retrieve his body and hide it underground beneath the Pizzaplex. He intends to download himself into Glamrock Freddy and become Burn Trap. In Security Breach, a new protagonist, Gregory, fends off Vanny with the help of Freddy. A slew of endings offer information regarding the Freddy lore. By the end of Security Breach, the preferred ending sees Gregory defeat the animatronics Monty and Chica and upgrade Freddy with their parts. He then ventures below Roxy's Raceway and takes on Burn Trap and the monstrosity known as the Blob. In the Princess Quest ending, Gregory frees Vanessa from Glitch Trap's control and eats ice cream on a hill with her next to Freddy's head. The Freddy series persists with additional spin-offs, including FNAF World, Ultimate Custom Night, Special Delivery, Freddy in Space 2, and Security Breach Fury's Rage, all of which either expand upon the existing lore or contribute to the intricate narrative. Fans believe that Ultimate Custom Night, for instance, revolves around William Afton's Purgatory, where he endures the consequences of his actions. In this game, players can select which animatronics they want to contend with and adjust the difficulty level to their preference. In Special Delivery, a character named Ness is revealed to be under William Afton's control, while other games reintroduce characters from previous entries and place them in different scenarios. The question remains, how much of the lore will the movie adaptation bring to the big screen? The trailer hints at the possibility of exploring the Bite of 87. Cawthon, no longer directly involved with the games he created, stepped in to compel the screenwriters to overhaul the movie's script, presumably aligning it more closely with the games. We'll have to wait and see.